Hello everybody, hope you well, hope you're fantastic. My name is Gavin Mkabela. I hope that you are safe wherever that you may be, together with your loved ones. Guys, COVID-19 is real. COVID-19 is still here. It is killing a lot of people. Let us make sure that we are taking all the measures that we're supposed to take in order for us to keep safe, because people are dying around us. I'm sure everybody can see that. So let us make sure that we are safe. We still need you. All right. Now, the last episode, I was talking about refinancing. And on that episode, I did touch on briefly on an aspect called an access facility. And a lot of people have been asking to say, Gavin, but what is this access facility all about and how does it work? So within this episode, that's what I'll be breaking down to you. And I hope that I'll be breaking it down to a point that even your children can also understand. Now, since the last time I did an episode with my daughter, she's just been fascinated with all of these financial concepts and, everything around building wealth. And I felt that, this could be a very, very good platform going forward to do videos and simplify them to a point that even our children can also understand. Because you can imagine if a lot of us knew just a fraction of what we know now, maybe our lives could have turned out differently, so we need to teach them while they're still young. Now, what is an access facility? Now, before I do an illustration of what an access facility is all about, I'm going to now explain it and just try and briefly explain what it is. Now, an access facility is a facility that you activate within your mortgage bond, within your home loan. So if you're buying a property using the bank, then you can then activate this access facility. Now, some of the banks will activate it automatically. Some of them you need to then do it yourself. You need to tell them to activate it. So it allows you to, when you're paying extra into the bond, it allows you that those extra funds that you are paying over and above what you're supposed to pay, you can then have access to them whenever you need to. All right. So all of these funds, when you want to access, because you are paying extra every month, it means that if now I want to access those funds that I'm paying extra additionally to what I'm supposed to pay, I can be able to access them. So now let's break it down. So let's say Gavin decides to buy a property or a one-bedroom flat for 100,000. Okay, so Gavin decides to buy a property for 100,000. Okay, but now Gavin doesn't have 100,000 lying around. Right, so Gavin goes to the bank to get a loan, a home loan, a bond. Wonderful. So then the bank decides, no, Gavin will give you the bond and for 100,000 to buy this property from Joe Soap. Okay. So now let's say that this bond, this loan is represented by an egg. So this egg represents the bond. And then Gavin decides, no man, I want an access facility. So let's say the yolk is now the access facility. All right, cool. Now, Gavin is now required by the bank to pay in 1,000 Rand every month to service this 100,000 bond. Right, so 100,000, Gavin is the loan, and Gavin is now required to pay 1,000 per month, maybe for the next 20 years or 30 years. Okay, so that's the bare minimum that the bank requires from Gavin to service this bond. Okay, but then Gavin decides to pay in an additional 1,000 Rand. So Gavin is paying an additional 1,000 Rand to service his bond. So meaning that the total amount that Gavin is paying on a monthly basis is 2,000 Rand. Okay, so Gavin is paying 2,000 Rand to service the bond of 100,000. Okay, so this 2,000 will reduce the interest, will reduce the capital when the time comes. Okay, but now Gavin decides to buy another property. So Gavin is buying another property. So this is property number 1. So Gavin is buying property number 2. So let's say it's also 100,000. Okay, but now Gavin is now required to pay in a deposit. So now let's go back to the installment. So let's say it's a year later. So it's 1 year later. Okay, so Gavin has paid in 1,000 times 12 Gavin has paid in on a normal installment, he has paid in 12,000. So this is a normal installment. Gavin has paid in 12,000. All right. And then after a year on the access facility, Gavin has paid in another 12,000 rand. So this is access, 12,000. So meaning that in total, Gavin for that 1 year, Gavin has paid in 24,000. Cool. So now Gavin is required on property number 2 to pay in a 12,000 deposit. So then Gavin can then go to the bank and access this 12,000. So remember, this 12,000 is sitting in that access facility. So Gavin can then take this 12,000 and put down a deposit for property number 2. So Gavin will pay in the 12,000. All right. So meaning that at the end of the day, the bond for property number 2, it will be 88,000. Wonderful. Are we together? So originally the bank requires Gavin to pay in 1,000 rand, but Gavin is paying an additional 1,000, which is now going to an access facility because he has activated that access facility. And then now he decides to pay in, he decides to buy property number 2. The bank then requires him to put down a deposit of 12,000. Then Gavin goes and access the 12,000 in the access facility to then pay in a deposit for property number 2, right? So this is the deposit that Gavin is paying. So meaning that the bond for property number 2 is going to be 88,000 because I've paid in 12,000 as a deposit. Now let's take it further. So let's say now Gavin didn't have the access facility. So Gavin didn't have the access facility. Gavin is buying property number 2, right? So this is property number 2, let's say without access, right? So without access. But Gavin all along has been paying additional 1,000 to the bond. So still the same concept, but you don't have the access facility. So Gavin has been paying in the additional 1,000 into that bond. So after a year, again, Gavin paid in 24,000. So then Gavin then decides to buy this property, number 2, for 100,000. And then he's required to pay in a deposit of 12,000. Right. But now Gavin knows that, no, I have money in my first bond, right? So if now Gavin wants to access the 12,000 that he's been paying additional to what you are supposed to pay, and there is no access facility, Gavin will then be required to refinance that additional amount that Gavin has been paying. So Gavin will need to refinance the 12,000 additional amount that he's been paying on a monthly basis. Now, that can be a challenge, especially if you look at where we are right now with COVID-19. Even last year, it was really bad. A lot of people didn't have salaries. A lot of people took salary cuts. And of course, that was a major issue. If now you have to go and refinance, because remember, they're going to look at all of these things. They might not necessarily give you that refinance. They might not refinance you that 12,000. So it is much more safer to have the access facility so that anything that you are paying additional to what you're supposed to pay can then go into that access facility, and it can then be flexible, liquid. Whenever you want the money, you can always get that money. So, this is an amazing tool to have, an amazing tool to have, because it's not just for rainy days, because if tough time comes like they are right now, you can go and dip into that money, but it can also allow you to take advantage of opportunities, because now you are buying more properties, especially if you are actively investing in property. So now you are seeing opportunities, you buy more properties. You can then use the funds that are sitting in that access facility to then put down deposits if it then requires you to. All right, so it allows you to then be flexible around those funds that you are putting additionally to what you are supposed to pay. And of course, I normally encourage people to pay more than what they're supposed to pay. Even if by 100 rand, it does not matter, but you need to make sure that you do have liquidity within your bond. It also allow you to save on interest, which is very, very fantastic at the end of the day. Now, I hope this will definitely assist you, going forward. If you have a bond already right now, please go and check with your bank if you do have an access facility, and then they can be able to activate it for you, because not every bank will then activate it. Some of them you need to then tell them to activate it, which is very, very important. Now, so this is all I have for you today. I hope that it really goes a long way to just give you a little insight in some of the things you can use, using the bank. A bank is amazing. I love the bank. So you can use it, you can use such things to really benefit you and your family at the end of the day. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So click on that link below, on that red button, and be able to subscribe to the channel. Tell everybody that you know to also subscribe as well, so that they can also benefit from this material and everything that is in the channel currently. All right, so I hope again that you guys keeping safe. Coronavirus is real. Let's make sure that we are safe and we are following all of the guidelines. At the end of the day, it's all for our benefit. Now, this is Gavin and I'm signing out, and I see you on the flip side.